Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow Toastmasters from different parts of the world. Welcome to the meeting number 13 of Universal Entrepreneur Toastmasters. Stay back, enjoy the show, and we have great actors, great Toastmasters rather. Let me pass the control to our beautiful and elegant presiding officer for today, Toastmaster Fredericka.
Thank you, DTM Raghu. Welcome to all on this platform, especially our esteemed guest, DTM Kadri. It's nice having you here. It's always a pleasure when we have new people here because Universal Entrepreneur Toastmasters is a unique club, right? And as you saw, it can help evaluate and promote your ideas through networking within and beyond Toastmasters. So it's always a pleasure having new persons here to enjoy learning new skills and taking back to their place of work or their place of business. Today, I am your Toastmaster of the day, and I will introduce our theme, your journey. As Toastmasters and entrepreneurs, we understand and we will all agree that our journey began with one single step. And that is a famous Chinese proverb by Liao Qisu.
Okay.
All of us now will remember where we started as a Toastmaster, as an entrepreneur. And therefore, I am sure listening to this theme, we will be doing some introspection as to where it all began. Where did it begin with us as Toastmasters? Where did it begin with us as entrepreneurs? It began with an idea. What was our why at that time? And today we're going to discover a lot of new tips telling us why we should persevere. Because sometimes you start, you progress, and then you want to stop. But we are saying, be encouraged as entrepreneurs. Let's move on and let's measure success. What would you like your success to look like? Then, to help me with this, as I control the meeting, I will call now on our grammarian to give us the word of the day and the idiom of the day. Our grammarian, Toastmaster Venu. Is he there?
He's gone underground.
He is not there. Toastmaster Raghu, do you have an idea what's our word for today?
I didn't get any information about venue today.
Can we have the word scintillating? Scintillating? Any word Raghu chooses. Stupendous, scintillating. All right, nice words.
Yeah, go ahead. I think that's not a bad idea. I mean, just good word.
Okay, I think Ramesh says stupendous is a good word. And Ramesh, thank you for the stupendous backing. Very fantastic.
Stupendous.
Stupendous.
Okay.
Meaning, give us some meaning.
Meaning means outstanding, fantastic, global level, world class, like the Caribbean people.
Thank you, thank you. And any suggestion for an idiom of the day?
Well, that I have asked Shakespeare because I'm not good at grammar.
I was thinking
walk the talk. Oh, walk the talk.
I don't know.
I love that. Okay, so
That's
today our word of the day is stupendous, meaning outstanding. And our idiom of the day is walk the talk. Would like you to incorporate it into everything you say today. So let us just get accustomed to using our word of the day and our idiom of the day and really apply it to our place of work, our lives, and we'll become better entrepreneurs. So to start off, we will go ahead with the evaluator of speech number 1, and our speaker is Solaza. Our evaluator is Ravi.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Can you guys hear me? I am
Yeah,
the
very good.
evaluator for today.
That's good.
I'll be evaluating Solajar's speech. and I'll be evaluating him on all the Toastmaster guidelines, including stage presence, organization, body language, and everything else. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ravi, and you are also the timer of the day. So could you give us a rundown of your duties as timer?
Sure. And Solazar, is it a normal 5 to 7 minute speech, or is it longer?
No, it's excuse me, it's longer. Abhijit said up to 22 minutes.
Yeah, 18 to 22 minutes. Speak professional. Start speaking professional.
And is the evaluation 3 minutes, or is it longer than that?
3 minutes.
minutes.
Okay.
2 to 3 minutes.
Let me share my background. Okay. Since the speech is 22 minutes, around 20 minutes.
I'll do one
Okay.
thing, Ravi.
I will sure.
I will let you concentrate on the speech while you are writing down notes. I'll time for Solaja. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could you give me a green at 15 and then a yellow at 20 and a red at 22?
Sure. Give me just a minute.
I realize that's a little odd, but gives me a real placement of where I am.
Just a minute. Okay, you can. I think you can continue. You can start that.
Thank you.
So 15 green and 18
please.
yellow.
Yeah,
And
that would
then
be good. 22
20.
red.
22 red. Okay, yeah, sure.
And then 25, you send in the police to get me out of the room.
Sure. I think Fredericka, you can invite him as a speaker.
But he's got a beautiful background. I don't think he'd like to leave the room. So much knowledge, firework, computers, printers. I don't know what all he's got. They're fantastic. Yeah. Which part of the world you are, Mr. Solas? Where are you?
I'm in California. I'm in California.
We will now welcome Toastmaster Solaza as he delivers. We yield the virtual lectern to you, Toastmaster Solaza.
Oh. Leadership magic.
Thank you very much, Fredericka, and thank you all from the Universal Entrepreneurs. You know, it's interesting that you started this morning with my opening quote, which is the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Now, 𝐔𝐽 told us nothing happens till we take that first step. So when did you recognize your leadership? When we hear the term leadership, we often think of people whom we consider leaders. So I'm asking all of you to think of someone in your life, someone whom you know, whom you consider a leader. Take a moment to imprint that name in your mind, or perhaps write it down. So do you all have one name, at least one name, just one?
Yes.
All right. So when we think of our leader, think of the behavior or characteristic that you see them exemplify, that stands out about them, that makes you believe that identifies them as a leader. It might even make them stupendous. For example, they may be excellent communicators. They may always recognize and praise publicly. They may be excellent organizers. They might be powerful motivators. And perhaps they're visionaries. Excuse me, my microphone came off. Perhaps they're visionaries. So remember just the most important trait about your leader that makes him or her a leader to you. If you're writing it down, write that trait down right below their name. If you're not writing it down, remember when you think of that person, what behavior or characteristic do you recognize with them? We'll come back to that later. Now, I grew up in the shadow of the greatest generation in the United States. All the adults I knew had lived through the Great Depression. Most of the men had served in World War II. Many of the younger men had served in Korea. We went from the presidency of Dwight Eisenhower, the former supreme commander of the Allied Expeditionary Forces in World War II in Europe, to the presidency of the charismatic World War II hero, author of Profiles in Courage, Roman Catholic senator from Massachusetts, John F. Kennedy. It was a time promoted in the press as Camelot. It was a magical time. It was a growth time. It was a renewal time. And it was the time of the American dream. Conversations were about cars and schools and clothes and shopping centers. And by default, leadership. The military leaders from World War II were often discussed. Our Cold War political leaders who came of age during World War II were often discussed. And depending on how we're introduced to leadership, that often becomes the filter through which we define leaders and leadership. Now, unfortunately, our personal view of leadership is very similar to how Big Al views life. You see, Big Al says that too much of life is run on the theory that you don't need road manners if you're a 5-ton truck. But leadership is not a 5-ton truck. It isn't a one-size-fits-all. In my book, Leadership Magic, I explore what I believe is the journey of leadership for all of us. But first, let me tell you something about me. I'm originally from New York. I went to Catholic grammar school. I was an honor student and went to Cardinal Spellman High School in the Bronx on a scholarship. Now, at the age of 16, my father and I had a disagreement about a haircut. Our disagreement became an argument. The argument became a fight. At the age of 16, on a cold, wet East Coast February winter night during a snowstorm, I was put out of the house with an overcoat, a carry bag, and 16 cents. For over 2 years, I lived on the streets. I worked at an offset printing plant. I did odd jobs. I painted houses. I did pickup labor. I even did some street performances. 2 years later, my father and I reconciled. I returned home. I joined the Marine Corps and went from the enlisted ranks to the officer ranks before retiring in 1994. Now, both of those experiences taught me something about leadership. First, a leader can only be as effective as his or her own belief system. When you don't have any money, when you don't have a place for the night, when the snow and the sleet are cutting through your clothes and the chill seems to come from inside you, you need a belief system that cares for you and your survival. And the second thing I learned is that leadership is based on action, not books, not theory, not perfection. It's based on action. We have to do in order to learn how to do. Now, some claim that leadership can't be learned. You have to be born a leader. Well, I agree. You will never meet a leader that hasn't been born. But the late Warren Bennis, a founding chairman of USC's Leadership Institute, told us, managers do things right. Leaders do the right things. What are the right things? Well, let me share the story of Stan Cottrell. He grew up poor in the backwoods of Kentucky. Now, one day at the age of 5, after a summer afternoon thunderstorm, he stood in a field with his father watching a rainbow arching across the horizon. And he took his father's hand and he said, "Daddy, one day I'm going to find the end of that rainbow and wrap my arms around it." Well, he didn't have much going for him. They were poor, but he loved to run. And over the course of his lifetime, he's run over 200,000 distance miles. He ran across America. He ran across Europe. And in the 1980s, based on a personal goal, he ran the Great Wall of China. Now, from the moment he conceived the idea of running the Great Wall of China to the time he would get there, Stan Cottrell believed it would only take maybe 6 months, maybe a year. But it was the middle of the 1980s. It was the height of the Cold War. It took him over 5 years. He had to get 50 letters of recommendations from senators and congressmen. He had to get permission from the US State Department. He had to get permission from the People's Republic of China. He had to get permission from the Chinese sports agencies. He had to raise a support team, and he had to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stan Cottrell approached 1,900 individuals and corporations and was turned down 1,858 times, but he persisted. Finally, he had the permission, he had the funding, he had the support, and he went to China and ran the navigable portion of the Great Wall of China. He ran 2,125 miles. He ran the equivalent of 40 miles a day for 53 consecutive days. He ran over 1,000 of those miles with 2 cracked vertebrae. He went from 140 pounds to 123. And Stan Cottrell learned something profound. When everything we have as a reference point has been taken away and can no longer be depended upon, you come to the moment of truth within yourself. See, Stan Cottrell found he had spent his life chasing things outside himself. He'd always been running toward a destination. He had never been in a destination. He came to his moment of truth 6,874 miles away from home. And he realized that all the gifts we need in life are qualities we carried inside ourselves. Now, the gifts he mentions are the foundation of who we are, and they're the foundation of our leadership. The first gift is reverence. We give it to ourselves first. We become the sandbox within which we practice. Then, having practiced, we extend the gift to others. Next is respect. Respect for ourselves, our well-being, then respect for others and respect for all life. Then there's kindness. We can often be kind to a hurt animal or a crying child, but kindness is the oil that takes the friction out of life. Be kind to ourselves first, then blinder and kinder to everyone around us. And then gentleness, which is like kindness. How often do we forget to be gentle to ourselves? In Max Ehrmann's poem, Desiderata, it says, beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with others. Be gentle with all living creatures. And next is patience. Patience is the ability to count down before blasting off. Ralph Waldo Emerson told us, adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. Farmers know they can't sow and reap in the same day. So patience with ourselves, then patience with others. And then there's the elusive quality of humility. See, humility is a strange thing because the minute we think we have it, we've lost it. After attending a workshop of mine, one fella came up to tell me how proud he was of the humility he practiced the past week. He had the right idea, but he still had work to do in truly understanding humility. Humility allows us to accept ourselves where we are. We can only learn at the rate we can learn. We can only do at the pace we can do. And it allows us to accept others where they are at that moment. And our next gift is sincerity, which means being ourselves in any direction. Sincerity is the face of our soul, and we're the one who knows if we're being sincere or not. And our foundational gift is integrity. Integrity is what Shakespeare told us in Hamlet, to thine own self be true, and therefore thou cannot then be false to any man. Integrity is being true to our beliefs and principles, but not at the expense of another person. We don't need others to tell us if we have integrity. When it's too late to call anyone where we are and too early to call anyone somewhere else, we know if we're operating from integrity or if we're operating from the open door of our ego. The other truths can't rest as firm if we don't create our foundation with integrity. Developing these 8 gifts of spirit is how we express who we are and who we want to be. Leadership is a process. Leadership is an evolution of spirit. Leadership is a journey of self. Leadership is an expression of who we are. Master Magician Jeff McBride teaches his students in his master class of magic that the journey of life is the magician's journey. We start by being the trickster. We learn about ourselves. We try different things, looking for the things that feel true to who we truly are or could be. From the trickster, we develop into the sorcerer, when we gather the knowledge to rule the world around us. It's the time to learn that power is not leadership. Power pushes people down. Strength pulls people up. It takes courage to use positional power with strength. And from the sorcerer, we open to our powers as the oracle. We begin to understand ourselves and what we want. We begin to see others around us and understand them on an even deeper level. This is the time when we expand our communication, when we develop deeper connections with those around us. And finally, we evolve into the sage. The sage operates from a place of wisdom. Now, the course of wisdom is not about knowledge of things. It's the wisdom to know the difference between the things we can control and the things we can't control. Only when we're clear about what we can't control will we choose the right actions, the right lessons, the right way of being. Making the right choice is not always easy, but making the easy choice is not always right. Reverence, respect, kindness, gentleness, patience, humility, sincerity, integrity. The gifts of spirit are the foundation of our personal character. Our personal character is the foundation of who we are, and who we are is the foundation of who we are as leaders. A failed foundation cannot create a grounded leader. Vernon McClellan shared that character is never erected on a neglected conscience. For any growth or change to take place, we have to take the action with clear intention. Motivation is not enough. Motivational speaker Jim Rohn shared that if you take an idiot and you motivate him, you end up with a motivated idiot. Too many motivated idiots consider themselves leaders because of a title or a position. By applying the gifts of spirit to become the best of who we are, we become the best leader we are. Max Dupree, the former CEO of Herman Miller, the founder of the Fuller Dupree Center for Leadership, the author of Leadership is an Art, the author of Leadership Jazz, the author of Leading Without Power, believe the key to leadership is to be the same person we are, whether with friends, in board meetings, consulting, or meeting one-on-one. When his granddaughter Zoe was born prematurely, she was 1 pound. He could slide his wedding ring up her arm to her shoulder without touching her at all. He asked the nurse, what could he do for Zoe? She told him to visit her every day. He was to rub her arms and chest with the tip of his finger, and as he rubbed her, he was to tell her, I love you, so that she could connect his touch with his voice. So he recognized that this was a powerful technique for a grandfather to connect with his granddaughter, but he also saw it as a powerful technique for leaders. See, people need to connect our voice with our touch, a safe touch. Our safe touch is the outcome of the gifts that Stan Cottrell shared: reverence, respect, kindness, gentleness, patience, humility, sincerity, integrity. Some of us embody more of these qualities than others, but all of us are on the journey of leadership because leadership is a process. Leadership is an evolution of spirit. Leadership is a journey of self, and leadership is an expression of who we truly are. As the trickster, we try out our 8 gifts of the spirit. As the sorcerer, we see which ones fit best and strengthen them. As the oracle, we review our strengths and our weaknesses and continue to strengthen our weaknesses. And as the sage, we use our wisdom to make the right choices and share from what we've learned. Now, a sage shares because it's about the people, not the sage. Max Dupree told us leadership is good work because leaders feel a strong need to express their potential and because they wish to serve the needs of others. Leadership is not a title. Leadership is not a position. Leadership is not a corner office. Leadership is not a reserved parking space. Leadership is the art of service. As I prepare to close, I want to share something in honor of one of my mentors growing up. His name was Clayton Rawson. He was a mystery writer, an artist, an editor of Ellery Queen's Mystery Magazine, and a magician. As a young boy in New York, he taught me the reality of magic. He passed over when I was 16, but before he passed, he shared a gift with me. A circle has 2 sides, an inside and an outside. The outside represents the face we present to the world. The inside represents the part we keep to ourselves. Whoops. We're always stronger when we're connected. So the next time someone asks you to write the name of a leader that you know, be certain that the first name you write is your own. And the trait you identified for your leader is the one you need to start developing for yourself. So I caution you to release your power. As Jeff McBride shared, you'll only experience as much magic in life as you allow yourself to believe in. Whether you live in a world of facts and answers or a world of mystery and wonder, reality is a matter of your perception. And don't forget, the magic is already in you.
Wow.
Madam Toastmaster.
Oof. Oh, wow.
I'm letting DTM Kadri exhale.
Oh.
What a presentation. Wow. I need to hear that again. Toastmaster Solanza, this was just something we needed to set the tone for this meeting. You did it well. You gave several nuggets. And if I have to give all of them, we will not end today. Integrity, being true to thine own self. Nothing happens till we take the first step. Entrepreneurs, be encouraged today. The journey began with a single step. You heard the story of Toastmaster Solanza. He was out at a very early age, and then see what he did for himself. I live in that with you. As you progress on your journey, do something today that your future self will thank you for. Do not just sit there. We are all leaders. Thank you for your 8 steps, Toastmaster Solanza. And I know as leaders, as entrepreneurs, we will use this keynote, I call it a keynote, to set the pace for our businesses, to set the pace for others. Congrats on a great speech. Since we do not have a second speech, we'll now move on to our table topics. And I will call on my
It
table
will be pitch. It will be pitched so that the pitch evaluator gets time.
Okay. Okay, so thank you, DTM Raghu. We will now do the elevator pitch, which is being done by DTM Raghu, and then we'll move on to our table topics. Thank you. Back to you, DTM Raghu.
Are you able to see my screen? Just a minute.
Not able to see yet.
Not here, just trying to fix it.